Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our fourth episode of our journey getting to the core of business development and new venture creation. Coming from sunny Cape Town, South Africa, this is our fourth episode and the second episode for 2025. I am Yongama Squehia, your host and chief advocate for innovation and entrepreneurship. It's been a great couple of weeks. I'm officially now back on the proverbial workhorse for the year. As I was telling a colleague, well, he's not a colleague per se. I sit on the board of his Technology Institute. Incredible work that the Institute does in terms of technology transfer, skills development, and going about changing the world. But in any case, I was talking to him and I was saying, it is quite scary for me how this year has started. You know, unlike any other year I've had before, everything is just working. In the first 3 weeks of this year, we've been able to raise additional funds, especially for our private equity business, and it's just scaring. You know, we're not doing anything and things are moving in the direction that we desire, and I'm kind of freaked out. I'm not used to starting off a year like that. Normally my years start off rocky and we get better as we go through time. And you know, he said something so gracious that reminded me that we have been working hard for a number of years. And now that hard work is paying off. It is showing, it is indicative, and it is there. And who are we to feel scared or apprehensive about the work that we've put in showing dividend? And that is something that made me realize the entrepreneurial journey tends to do that to you. You know, when you've worked and you grind for so many years, you actually never take a moment to sit and think, oh my word, look how far we've gotten. Because you're constantly thinking of how to get to the next plateau in this mountain that you are climbing. And sometimes we just need to take a moment and appreciate the journey that we've been on, appreciate the opportunities that we've been given, and more importantly, just appreciate being in the moment. And in so doing, you will be able to understand the journey that you've been on, to be able to understand the kind of work that you've put in, and have a bit of falling in love with what makes you wake up every day. So, in all of that, this got me thinking of the path that we've walked, the people we've met on the journey, what we've tried to achieve, what we were successful on, what we actually lost out on. You know, all of those things, all in all, make up your entrepreneurial experience. And as an entrepreneur, you need to have a strong mental fortitude in order to be able to overcome all of the obstacles and things that come your way. So, first on the roster this week, the Technology Innovation Agency, together with a South African SME fund, have launched the High Impact Seed Fund of Funds. This was announced, and it's interested in early stage VCs who they've invited to apply for funding from the Fund of Funds. This is quite an exciting opportunity and allows for $17 million or 300 million rands of early stage venture capital being available in the system to be deployed and allocated by the successful venture capital companies that actually get access to this. this is quite an incredible thing. They've been working on this for a number of years, and it's great to see that it's maturing and coming together. South Africa needs it. Our venture ecosystem needs a lot more pre-seed and seed capital in order to get to the later stages. As I've said in a previous episode, we've got a very good and a very established private equity ecosystem, but the venture capital ecosystem is still at infancy, and even venture capital as an asset class for asset managers is still very new. A lot of asset managers can't yet actually understand and quantify and actually kind of understand who are the good ones, not the good ones, who are the emerging, who are the new ones, and all of those little things. So as an asset class, it's very difficult to pinpoint at this stage, but things are changing. It's been eye-opening to see that over the last 4 years, how asset managers are more and more able to understand what this asset class is all about. So it's great to see the high impact seed funds of funds. Very strange acronym, HISFOF or something. But anyway, it's the high impact seed of funds, or seed funds of funds. Let me get that correctly. It's the high impact seed fund of funds. Please check it out and see what it's about. Secondly on the roster, and more on a personal note, Isimoves Venture Capital Partners joins the VC Lab cohort number 17. Look, we've been trying to get to VC Lab since the third VC Lab, and the reason why we started on the third, both myself and Zolani, when they launched VC Lab, we were part of Founders Institute, and because we were in the fold, we were still doing a lot of our work around Founders Institute. So we saw the first cohort, the second, and like, yeah, you know what, this is something that we need to do when we do actually stop our tenure around entrepreneurial development within the Founder Institute. So we've been trying to get in, not been successful, and now we're at 17, and it's incredible that in a matter of, I think, 3 years, they've had 17 cohorts of VC Lab, and we are in, and we're very excited to be part of it. Though, as a venture business, and our fund, the Technology Innovation Impact Fund, is quite well established, the opportunity is still very relevant to us, and it allows us to refine our offering and help finalize and close our fund. VC Lab is such a great platform to gain access to an expanded network of limited partners or LPs, and introduction to other VC firms across the world that we can partner with and work with and see what is out there in terms of benchmarking our services, offering and everything like that. We are very excited to be part of this and support the standardization and ethos of the VC Lab, together with its strong focus on ethical conduct and business within the ecosystem. So we're excited to be part of this, and we're going to keep you posted as to how we go about and the experience that we have within VC Lab. Now, let's get cooking on this week's episode. I wanted to chat about the mental impact of entrepreneurship on you as an individual, and possibly impact on the family. So everyone who's met me or knows me, I've got 2 sons. One was born when I started, and one was born later on in the journey. And because of the different birth times and experiences within the family, they are quite different as individuals. For instance, our first son, born probably 2 years into my entrepreneurial foray, very conservative man, saving is very high in his mind, keeps everything close to hand, because that's the environment that he he grew up in his formative first 5 years. We were struggling. We were still in the famine phase of the business. Everything was tight. So I think he ended up embodying that kind of personality, of that tightness and quietness and reserve and all of those things. And it's things that we don't really think about, how these impact our children and the family and as a whole. Yet in contrast, the second son, he's a free spirit. He runs around. He's a people's person. He loves to spend, and we kind of joke around the house that this one, he will spend everything that is available, because he grew up in an environment where there was a little bit more, where there wasn't the tight-fistedness that needed to happen in the initial stages, but more of open-handed, where things can be done. We can do more. We can travel. We can enjoy things and stuff like that. So he has a very outward personality. He's very out there, very active in everything. But at the very same time, when you look at these two creatures, they embody two sides of the same coin, because their personalities, outside of one being more introverted than the other, is quite similar. The norms and standards are the same and all of those things. And it made me think that, as much as we would love the best for our kids, we in many ways do impact them positively and negatively without knowing. A child is born as a blank slate, and we are the people who start putting stuff on that slate. Some of the stuff that we put, whether we know or don't know, would be negative or positive. And we need to be really very mindful of that. At the moment, I'm working hard to kind of massage out all the initial stuff with our eldest, that he sees money, risk, and all of those things in a different light than what he currently does, because he's very risk averse, and I can understand why. He saw some incredible highs and lows. One of his most traumatic experiences, we got a major contract to supply milk to a coffee shop chain around the Cape Town. I think we had something like 23 or 25 different spots where we had to drop off milk, and it took me, I think, 18 months to secure that contract. So we really had a lot of convincing to do. Very excited. That morning of doing this, I dropped him at school, and we started the contract. Then in the afternoon, as I was picking him up from school and we're traveling down, I get a call, and it's the procurement officer of the chain. And the man was shouting, why has the milk not arrived? You've literally lost us money because the milk hasn't happened. And this was greatest error on my part. I had a partner in the venture who was at the forefront at the dairies, but I don't know, for some strange reason, this man had experience, he had technical know-how, he had been able to do this for prisons in the past, but on that particular day, he fumbled, and it was a cascading fumble of note. And to such an extent that when this gentleman was shouting at me, my son, to some extent, I think, broke, because he'd never seen or heard anyone shout at his father. And he knew at that stage that venture is not something for him. We're working on that to massage it out, that you can actually see there is potential in venture. These things do happen. It was a mistake on my part, and it's a mistake that I've learned from. And what can you do going forward? from that. So it's very important that we understand and realize the kind of impact that we have on our children with the stuff that we do. Because in many instances, kids don't learn what you tell them to do, but they learn from what they see in and around their environments. And this is one of the things that I am working extremely hard to massage out of him, to make him understand that, you know what, there is life after this. So, as an entrepreneur, one of the great things that you need to do is you need to fall in love with problems. Because if you wish to become an impactful entrepreneur, you need to be able to identify these problems. Problems are what makes us wake up in the morning. Problems are what gives us the drive to push on a daily basis. Problems are the opportunities we try to exploit by offering solutions to our target market. So maybe before we look into problems, one needs to understand what is important to a target market and what is that you offer to them that is of value and that they would want to get from you. So it's important to understand all of those things in order to go on and be a successful entrepreneur. So let's speak a little bit about a value proposition that you may give to a customer base. So value proposition. Value proposition can be loosely termed or expanded on as the value your company promises to deliver to customers and should they choose to buy the product. So again, going back to the bad example or the bad experience of supplying milk, we pitched that the value proposition is that we would have fresh, unadulterated milk. So one of the things that happens in all markets, people, in order to increase their margins, would adulterate organic products. This we experienced when we were in the honey space. So people would adulterate honey by actually mixing, let's say, a portion of honey with a portion of cane sugar in order to have something that is syrupy and looks like honey that is elongated, given that cane sugar is cheaper than honey. So you've got a bit of a buffer in terms of margin on that. So the similar thing is happening, or what was happening in the market, I'm not sure to what extent now, with regards to milk. So people would put in water in milk, so instead of being 100% milk, there'll be like 15, 20, even 30% water content. So it's you wouldn't really see it from the packaging, but you would taste it that this milk is not creamy enough. So we were combating things like that. And we got into the market. The value proposition was 100% milk offered to your customer base or your network of restaurants as effectively or as efficiently and effectively as possible every morning, and that was what we offered. This, however, we did not do. So we did not deliver to the customer as the way that we indicated. Therefore, we broke our value proposition and promise to them. And for you as an entrepreneur, you need to understand this and be able to stick to what you have said you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and the frequency at which you are going to do it. Because your customer, whether the customer is the end user or your customer is an intermediary, they rely on the promises that you've made in order to make their processes and systems work, and also their final customer. So it's very important that one looks into that and you're able to move from there. So creating a value proposition, a great value proposition could be the difference between losing a sale or getting a sale. Again, we had a really strong value proposition on this. We showcased the quality of the milk. We had multiple rounds of showing how the process is in terms of from the cows at the dairy, distribution from the dairy up all the way to the different restaurants and all of those things. So we're able to show what you are able to do and the value proposition around that. Your value proposition details what you offer customers and what they should choose, or and the reason why they should choose you, because we are all competing with someone in some shape, form, or manner. So you need to be distinctive from that. I always think of it in the sense that or in the dating pool, you have to have certain traits and abilities in order to stand out among the crowd, because everyone is offering similar things. I am a human, I am here, I can take you out, but what is it that is uniquely you, that only you can achieve or you can provide, that makes you attractive? And this is what entrepreneurs need to remember with regards to building a really strong value proposition. Because even from an investment or a venture side, we look at what sets you apart. We've got beautiful, interesting terms like what's your secret sauce, but it's essentially what's your value proposition. What are the elements that set you apart in order for you to be successful, sustainable, to be the best, and all of those things? We'll speak at a later stage around the moat that makes you stronger than everyone else. It's very linked to the value proposition, but within the value proposition, it is the key elements of what sets you apart and makes you that much more formidable in the market. So when you are looking at anything, one needs to understand the difference between a want and a need. So I always think of these things in two ways. So a want is like me having my multivitamins. So I've got a beautiful regime in the morning that I would have my morning tea and I would have my multivitamins. And this should cover me for the day. They range in all manner of things. My wife works for a pharma company, so I get to have some really good stuff. So it ranges from turmeric for my joints, because I've got a busted knee from playing rugby and being a dad for so long. Then you've got different other things for different ailments. So nothing chronic, but all multivitamins that help me be as best as I can on a daily basis. I've got something for mental fortitude or aptitude to just be able to focus and things like that. So it's quite a number of pills. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's something like 8 or 10 pills. I'm not sure. Anyway, so I've got this. I've got them in a dispenser from Monday to Friday, because I don't really use my multivitamins during the weekend. I like my liver to just breathe a bit. I've got this. So everything is set to be successful at completing this task on a daily basis. But because it's a want, I don't always do it. I sometimes get it right. I probably, when I'm home and not traveling, I probably would get it right 70% of the time. When I'm traveling and being in hotel rooms all over the country, if I'm lucky, I'll get it right. Of the week that I'm away, I'll probably get it right 2 times, at best 3 times in that week. So not very strong numbers around that. And so much like that the market, if what you're offering is merely a want, people can live without it, and they decide, I don't feel like it today, or they forget, or they don't consume. So it's not something that is pertinent to their daily lives in order to actually come through and purchase from you. On the converse, a need is a desire by a group of customers that may or may not be fulfilled, but either way it keeps on existing. And specifically, in using the same type of example, a need is like you waking up in the middle of the night with a major toothache, and you're thinking, geez, I cannot bear this. And you go and look at your medicine cabinet and you can't find any pain pill. And you're like, geez, I just need a pain pill so I can get through this, and tomorrow morning or later in the morning I can go and visit a dentist, but until such time I need a pain pill. Then you find that you don't have a pain pill in your house, and you get in your car and you drive to the nearest 24/7 petrol station, and you go there to the kiosk and you ask for a pain pill. And because you're at a petrol station, you've now expected to pay an inflated price, and something that, let's say for argument's sake, you normally get for 10 rands, or let's say $1, now costs twice or three times that amount. But because it's a need, you are more than willing to cough that, even though you know that, geez, this is not the right price. But because it's a need, you end up paying. And that is the kind of offering that makes you successful, because you are able to offer something that is required deeply. And what I'm not advocating price gouging here. I'm making an illustration of the desire by the customer to purchase that which you're offering at whatever cost. It also needs to be considered as the entrepreneur. Your pricing regime needs to be fair, needs to be in alignment with economic standards, and more importantly, it needs to be ethical. So it's important that we not just go out there like we're going to exploit and just make money, end up extracting so much money from your market that you leave your market bare and without anything. But if you're offering value, because this is what you are saying you're going to do with your value proposition, your customer base will be able to say, you know what, the value that I get from this product or service versus the price I pay for is more than enough, and they are happy and they are repeat customers onto your thing. So it's very important that when you look at problems, because problems are the most beautiful thing, try and find the relevant solutions that will be of need to the customer. For instance, if a customer has a problem of getting from point A to point B, there are various solutions to this. At cheapest and primary solution is that they can walk. This can be something that they do for 100 meters or up to 20 kilometers on a day. You know, we, especially growing up in the rural areas, one would know of many children who used to walk 5-6 kilometers a day in one direction to get from home to school. So that is a form of transport. Getting from A to B isn't walking. Then a secondary option could be a bike. That can take you from point A to B. Even skateboards and other things. You know, I saw a gentleman on an electric scooter traveling 10 kilometers from his house to one of the major retailers' home offices a few kilometers from my house. And I thought, this is incredible. He doesn't sit in traffic, and it's an electric scooter, so he doesn't have to struggle much in terms of going uphill. And it's a mode of transport. And again, it's another solution to the same problem. I needed to get from point A to point B. Then you start getting the more expensive solutions to the problem. These are things like you could have the use of a bus service if the local authority offers a metro bus, or you could use a taxi, minibus taxi, or you could use Uber. And at the top end of the spectrum in terms of expense, you could purchase a vehicle. And there's also somewhere there, but you can also just also slot in a motorbike. So to this one problem, there is well over 8 solutions. So what you offer to the market would be the one that is most suitable given the nuances of that particular market. So if the market, for instance, that you are serving has a low income potential, it means that they are not going to be in a position to purchase a vehicle. Therefore, you should probably give them shared experience in a vehicle owned by another. Therefore, public transport in the form of a taxi or in a minibus. If the market that you are serving has a higher income ability, then maybe you would look at a product where they can purchase something that makes sense to them. And these are the considerations that one needs to have when you go out to the market and you try and offer value. That you get what the market requires, and you offer to them a solution that is most relevant to them given the nuances of that market. And from there you are more able to actually have a robust offering that is sustainable, that will allow the market to, where you will grow in the particular market that you are in, and possibly expand to other markets that are either directly next to the one that you are in, or markets that have some similarities to the one you currently serve. And these are the considerations that one needs to have in order to be successful around your value proposition. So it says it's largely understood that most successful firms craft their unique value propositions prior to entering a particular marketplace and design their business operations in accordance with their value proposition. So, that which you go and tell people, you should be that which you are. You can't go and tell people like, we are the best, we are the brightest, yet you are not. People like to actually know and see that which you are offering is in accordance to what you say you are doing to them. And those are my thoughts in terms of value proposition. Thank you very much for listening this week. I hope that your mental fortitude is improved, that going out to the world, what you are trying, you know what you want to try, how you want to try it, and where you want to try it, because you've got a particular strategy. Remember that in many cases, strategies don't work out the way that you thought that they would, but that should not deter you from coming back. Entrepreneurship is an iterative system of operation. So iterate, try again, change things, try to find a different solution to the particular problem that you've identified, and in so doing, you will stumble on something. And I say this with with care. You don't really stumble. You find these things because you've done these experiments. You will stumble on a market for which you are suited, that has great potential for you to be a successful entrepreneur within it. And when you put in the work, you tend to grow within that market, and things change drastically over time. One must also keep in mind that for anything that you start, there's going to be a tough phase. Even if you started exercising, there's going to be those first few weeks where it is tough and you hate it and you can't do it and all of those things. Then it gets a little bit easier, then it gets really nice, then you go. And it's the same thing to venturing. It starts out tough, you're losing so much, not just the money, but all of the other things and the impact that it has. But over time, it improves. You improve. You learn to endure more, and therefore you become more. And through that, you grow to be a very strong entrepreneur. Thank you once again for listening this week. I hope you have an awesome week. Until next time, let's keep the core strong.